uncensored political topic of the day: how to go about national divorce. Here's my ideal. There are national divorce parties like Texit, which is more accepted than the League of the South is, because the League of the South has been given a tarnished reputation considering their own leadership on one side and considering just blatant lies spread about them. I would consider myself a supporter of the League of the South and also of Texit, and the League of the South also considers itself a supporter of Texit. The goal of the secession would be for part of the United States to be able to freely leave the other part of the United States. And to a lot of Americans, that seems like, well, it's pretty simple. Why would the United States not let some of the United States leave the United States? Well, a better question would be, why has the United States been acquiring non-states to be like government puppets, if you will? Well, that's because the United States does not care about states' rights. It doesn't even care about other nations' rights. It wants to get involved not just here, but everywhere, in all places, at all times. It wants to get involved not just our little nation over here. It wants to get involved in Ukraine and in Israel. Ukraine and Israel. And besides that, let's look at a map of all the military bases all around the world. Why would the United States not want some of the United States to not be the United States? Well, the United States doesn't love the United States. Matter of fact, the United States is the United States' biggest enemy all the time. And I wouldn't say that the Republican Party or the Democratic Party are the opposition to the United States system of functioning. The real opposition to the United States system of functioning are the dissidents. It's the dissidents. Let's be honest, it's the real dissidents. Those people who don't really care about being called sexist, homophobic, racist, bigoted, things like that. Those people are the real trouble for the United States because, well, if all these separatist people or all these traditional people want their own thing, what happens? Where are they going to get their own thing? They're going to have to change the United States to get it. And how do they get in? They can't, because there is a liberal cathedral running it. Also, take note, I'm using cathedral in the way that the neo-reactionaries or dark enlightenment does. The cathedral is made up of the educational, entertainment, and government institutions, also financial institutions. They all work together in unison to help each other keep power. And genuinely, that makes sense. That makes sense. Wouldn't you do that if you were them? Wouldn't you do that? Well, if our minds were in their minds, that's not what we'd do. But if we had the same incentives as them, we would try to keep all of the power centralized upon ourselves, maybe. So the goal is to separate it in a quick manner, right? We want to separate the United States quickly. And how can we do that? Well, I don't think that the little political things are doing great right now. I think it's even been recent that the Supreme Court has tried to shoot down Texit from being on the ballot. You can't even have Texit on the ballot, which is garbage. And the government has also, I believe it was Colorado, tried to keep Trump off the ballot. So there's definitely a war on secessionists and on right-wing dissidents. And let me tell you, the secessionist movement, the Californians and Portlanders and Chaz Chop people are not the primary workers of this. Although you could say you could get a left and right wing coalition on it, maybe, but I think it kind of waters down the movement a little bit. You know what I mean? Because with the left wing, right wing working together on secession, I believe that was already done with like the Independence Party before. Not the Independent Party, but the Independence Party. With the left and the right wing working together. It's like we have Hawaii, Puerto Rico, U.S. territories in general, California, maybe Oregon, Portland, that area, all working together with what? Reactionary Cascadia, those people in Idaho, I guess. The League of the South, Texit, I don't know, probably Christian nationalist in various areas. I don't know where Indiana would fit in, where the Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania would all work at, but I believe they'd side with the South on some things. Maybe they'd want to be like, can we be Southerners yet? But also on this side, I forgot to mention maybe Michigan. Michigan might want to be out. Michigan, Illinois, those places. Also, maybe you could get New York. New York has never really wanted independence, from what I can tell. New England. You have New England. You got that. So, and them working together, it's really like, if you convince them all, like all these sorts of people to work them together, it's a greater likelihood, but then you're also working for the inverse thing to happen, where there's people in California, Portland, New England, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, they don't quite like to secede. They'd want to stay part of the United States because they're more with this group of people, the right wingers. Or on this side, these people would rather be over here because they're more the left wingers. And they kind of just like screw each other over. And if you really look at these political maps, the U.S. has a harder time really focusing politics into states like they used to. Because we don't have a central. Well, the thing is, we don't have a way to control the information flow exactly. Back then, it was like you're right wing or Democrat or Republican because your whole state is like right wing, Democrat, Republican, generally. But with something like now, with the modern times, your whole state is not right wing or left wing. I mean, California looks hopeless. It looks really hopeless. It's probably one of the most hopeless states there are right now. Considering, I mean, they have a good money supply, but they're pretty hopeless in terms of being very left wing. Like, nobody really dreams up, like, I'm going to make California a reactionary state. Very cool. Not feasible at this time. So, you could say maybe it wouldn't even be an issue to get these people to help us secede. That's nice thinking. Very nice thinking. But I just don't think that. Well, actually, I'd like to start off saying with I don't think that left-wing people like secession as much as right-wing people. Because left-wing people are like riding the horse right now, okay? That in their eyes, they're like, we're on the verge. We're on the verge of breakthrough, guys. Us, we're getting close to the socialist dream here. But who's in our way? The reactionaries. So, what are we going to do? Secede. Shut up. Workers of the world unite. Not workers of California, you fool. You have to join the international commune. Insane. So, secession, I don't really think about that much. I don't think about it too much. It's not on my mind much of the time. I'd much rather think about things like, let's make a reactionary elite in Appalachia, right? And then over like 500 years, we will basically be the controlling force. Doesn't really need to be 500 years. I mean, the left took over America in what, 100? Half a century? I don't even know. Like, they started coming in around 1900, early 1900. You could say there's a lot of leftism. Well, I mean, if we want to go really far back, you could say, no, it's about 100 years, about 100 years. Because from about 1860 to 1960, big left-wing change. You can't deny that. There's no denying that. No denying that from 1860 to 1960, huge left-wing change. Not even recognizable. So, you could put a lot of people in power, sneakily. And, over a century, you could take over the United States with a reactionary force. But the goal of the reactionary force isn't really to take over the United States. It's just to make it reactionary, decentralized, and to kind of break it apart, break it a little bit apart. You want to keep it apart a little bit. You don't want to have it all working together as some global super evil. You know what I mean? You don't want it to work together as like this global supervillain. You want it to work together only as a sometimes supervillain. No, not sometimes. You want it to work together rarely. If we're being invaded, work together. If we're not being invaded, get out of my business. If we are on the verge of being invaded, work together. Not on the verge, get out of my business. It's not unfair to say this. The United States is no longer, never has been, one nation. And it's wrong that we're really imperializing just about every single other country in the world right now, trying to make them into the singular U.S. nation. That's what all of the, how should I put this, Globo Domo conspiracy has been going. We've been spreading liberal values to all these other countries, spreading liberal values to Britain, spreading liberal values to Germany, France. Oh, let's spread them to the northern, to the man, what are they called? I'm trying to think of it right now. Sweden, Norway. To them, to those people. We want to spread our liberal values everywhere. Matter of fact, we'll fly pride flags in Afghanistan because we're twisted. We're just like that. We do that. We'll fly pride flags there just for the giggles of it. Just to watch them seethe. Oh, sodomite degeneracy. Oh, you're seething, aren't you? Yes, lots of people are. And they don't like it. So here's the funny thing. Russia actually supported Texit. They supported Texit. Either as a joke to be like, haha, you don't support us having Ukraine? You shouldn't have Texas. Just mocking them. Us. Well, government, us, or they genuinely do support it, which makes sense to me, because if the U.S. global order breaks down, that's a good thing for most countries, a very good thing for most countries, and most dissidents in most countries, because what's really backing them from let's ask ourselves. Close your eyes. Get into my mindset. You are a French person. You have seen so many immigrants come into your country. When you go on Google Trends and you search up Bible and Quran, it will quite literally put Quran as the most popular search term in your country. You used to be a Christian country. Your country was quite famous for being in the Crusades, matter of fact. Good or bad, that's still a notable mention. So, you want to start a dissident movement. Who is stopping you? French government. Oh, French government bad. Okay, why French government stopping you from removing immigration? Why French government stopping you from seceding? Why French government want control you so bad? French government and NATO. Who make NATO? Who control NATO? Who is the biggest power in NATO? Not by landmass, because that would be Canada. But, naturally, biggest power in NATO, United States. How much money United States spend on military? Much money. Oh. United States contribute to military of all Europe. United States somewhat control all Europe, maybe. What if no United States control all Europe? What if no liberal power? Oh, France, no backing, no stopping, no incentive to control your movement. Ooh, me want secede. Me get group, me secede. Me get group, me throw over French government with democratic processy to reactionary enlightenment. Simple. Now, take yourself out of your closed eyes. What just happened? United States not controlling the world equals no more liberal world order? If United States had half the power, actually, let's not even imagine the United States has half the power. Let's imagine that there are now 2 United States. One may be liberal, pretty liberal, maybe even socialist. 2, very reactionary. Maybe they even both could still work together because they don't want to get murdered. Well, now they could work together in a different alliance where they both kind of share the power. But, different states could really choose, well, are we going to be reactionary this season? Okay, well, we're a reactionary government. Let's side with the southern U.S. states of America. Boom. You join reactionary treaty organization. Or, let's say we're socialists. You join the socialist treaty organization. Regardless, how good or bad those could be. They can work together. They could, in the end, work together, but they could also stop the liberal world order. It doesn't have to just be liberalism. Maybe Russia could have some of Ukraine working with it. The goal isn't really make it part of Russia. The goal is more just don't have it be part of liberal Ukraine, where they just want to promote globo domo ideology. Just want to promote society degrading ideology. I'm gonna add maybe like a timestamp here to get my final thoughts for anybody who doesn't want to hear me rambling. The way to go about secession overall is going to be you. Begins with you. You have to tell other people about it. You have to tell your family about it. You have to create a national identity. Biggest, like, red pill or, truth pill, LARP until it's real. That's the biggest thing you can learn. LARP until it's real. Appalachian nationalism barely even existed a long, while back. But with the advent of flag makers, with the advent of the discussion, with the advent of it being more talked about, more memes being made about it, laugh about memes as you will. They are good conveyors of messages, and they really popularize messages if they're good. Appalachia could only be independent, or any other area could only be independent by the people of the area really believing in its independence. For example, Texas. They really believed that they could be independent, not because of they just hear politicians say, let's make it independent, guys. We can be independent from the United States. I mean, we're the equivalent of a county in people's minds, but we can be independent. No, they can be independent because we used to be the Republic of Texas. We governed ourselves for years. We kept the Alamo. We colonized this. We settled this. We chose to be part of the United States of America. We can choose to not be part of it. We are Texas. That's the value. That's the way that you really have secession. That's the way you keep a secessionist party. Always induce the cultural values. Always remind of the threat that is outside of your region. Remind them, if you were only your region, you could just do the things your region needs most. You could do what your region needs. But since you're not just your region, constantly bogged down by the liberal order or by the conservative order, you will constantly be bogged down, and it will induce more fights, and it will induce more social pressure and distress, and it will eventually kill a nation over a long period of time.